Ladies and gentlemen, the West Fife Schools Fife Band's presence at this event represents the workforce of the local community through the traditional Scottish music and the area schoolship. This link with the workforce has no better example than that of Fife Major Neil Cameron, who, as a Babcock employee, has been working on the construction of HMS Queen Elizabeth here in the site. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the West Fife Schools Fife Band.
Technical innovation has always been a core component of the Royal Navy. On the 10th of January 1912, Lieutenant Charles Sampson flew the first biplane from the deck of an adapted battleship, and so the first aircraft carrier was born. Used for reconnaissance missions, ship-deployed aircraft played a key role during the First World War, and at the Battle of Jutland, they gathered vital intelligence on the movement of the German fleet. In 1918, the first aircraft carrier, HMS Argus, was commissioned and was fitted with a full-length flight deck and hangar capable of accommodating up to 20 aircraft. Carrier innovation continued rapidly, and by the Second World War, carriers were at the head of operations. In May 1943, during the Battle of the Atlantic, 36 Fleet Air Arm squadrons flew some of the most hazardous missions imaginable during the campaign. Post-war innovation included the use of steam catapults to launch heavier jets, an angled deck, mirror landing sites for faster recovery, and a ski jump designed for the first Sea Harrier. In July 2008, the UK government signed a contract for 2 new aircraft carriers. HMS Queen Elizabeth and HMS Prince of Wales are to be the largest warships ever to be constructed for the Royal Navy. Using the latest technology and jet fighters available, these innovative carriers will serve as flagships of the Royal Navy for decades to come.
The Queen Elizabeth aircraft carrier is an awesome ship. It's 280 metres long, 70 metres wide. It's an airfield. It's 4 acres of real estate. And it'll have a crew of 680. It'll house up to 1,600 people if required.
A lot of the technology that's gone into the ship, a lot of the work we're doing, British companies coming up with British designs, which goes into a British ship.
Effectively, we can visualise and see the repercussions of decisions that we're going to be making in the design stage before we're committing into cutting steel.
And for something this size, there was not one particular shipyard that could do this job. So we've actually put an all-star team together, if the truth's known, working simultaneously to build such a fantastic ship.
Most exciting part of the project for me was when the main generators went in. There's 146 tons each. It wasn't fingers crossed because I knew it would fit.
When the block was ready to go to get shipped down to Rosyth was just unbelievable, the size of it. So it was like, we made that, you know, it was just exciting.
And that is a diamond sort of moment that we all enjoy. The exciting part was when we tied them down onto the barge, and then we see them going out onto the river and on the way to Rosyth to be put together.
LBO2 rollout, 6,000 tonnes coming out onto the barge, absolutely amazing. It filled the whole hall here in Portsmouth. And then suddenly to see it out in the sunshine onto the barge was amazing.
And you can imagine just even the transportation, logistics of getting those blocks from that site up to Rosyth.
The most exciting part of this project, tell you, was first block arriving and going into the dock, then having to skid the blocks together, which when you're moving 26,000 tonne to within 6 millimetres of another block was tremendous.
When we loaded out load block 4 ship 1, we were taking 10,000 tonnes of steel, something the size of a football pitch, 6 storeys high, and then rolling it onto a barge. It was a really momentous day.
Probably the most absolutely interesting part was when the forward island, UBO7, came up to Rosyth from Portsmouth. Then seeing it actually fitted onto the ship, you could start to see the structure come together for the very first time.
I think it changed the whole shape of the carrier. It looked like a bit of a flat-top barge up until that point, and then suddenly UBO7 was on there, and it just gave you that iconic profile that you were expecting to see from a carrier.
It's probably one of the biggest systems integration tasks that the UK have ever seen. Just the sheer volume of cable that we're installing on board. If you laid it out in a straight line, it would reach almost from London to Gibraltar, with data and information travelling at the speed of light for the length and breadth of the ship.
It's a masterpiece in engineering. It's absolutely tremendous.
And it shows the world that we can do this. Shipbuilding is alive, it's thriving.
It shows what we can do. It shows that we are still at the forefront of engineering around the world.
I hope that the millions who see her are as awed and inspired by her as I was when I worked on her as an apprentice.
I would wish the people of the UK to look upon this project as their project as well. It's not just ours, this is for the nation and for the future.
I feel incredibly proud to have been part of the QEC programme. To know that she'll be protecting the nation for the next 50 years is an incredible thing.
It has been my life shipbuilding, and it's one of the best things you could ever do, finish your career on a ship like this.
Parade, ho! Divisions, on caps! Parade, stand at ease! Parade, stand easy! Steady! Parade, parade, ho! That's exactly right.
The first Queen Elizabeth marked a new class of battleship and entered service during the First World War. She too was associated with Rosyth, having been refitted here early in the Second War, prior to distinguished service in the Mediterranean and Far East. A new generation now works here and in other shipyards and businesses across the country, whose skills and labour have built this new ship. Like her illustrious predecessor, this Queen Elizabeth is innovative and first of class. She marks a new phase in our naval history, being the largest ship ever built for the Royal Navy. She and the aircraft operating from her deck will also usher in an exciting new era of capability and cooperation, jointly engaging the Royal Navy and the Royal Air Force, as well as with international partners, especially the United States and France. Lord Mountbatten told my father on becoming king that there is no more fitting preparation to be king than to have been trained in the Royal Navy. My own personal associations, especially as the proud sponsor of 6 other warships and submarines, remind me that that reputation for excellence continues to this day. In sponsoring this new aircraft carrier, I believe that Queen Elizabeth, as flagship for the Royal Navy, will be a source of inspiration and pride for us all. The Lord High Admiral, the Duke of Edinburgh, joins me in congratulating all those involved in the Aircraft Carrier Alliance on this magnificent achievement, and wishing her first ship's company well in the time ahead. Wherever the ship may serve, whatever tasks may be asked of her, let all those who serve on her know that on this day she was blessed with the prayers of us all for her success and for her safe return to calm waters. I name this ship Queen Elizabeth. May God bless her and all who sail in her.
Seems like a very small bottle of whiskey against a very big ship.
Well, I think the day of naming is such an important milestone in which to reflect on the journey that has finally reached this point. I mean, I'm enormously proud as a naval officer to being part of this journey and part of this project. It's a reflection of a massive effort by an astonishingly large number of people. In the service, of course, the Navy and the Air Force, but also civil servants, industrialists, ship designers, technologists, all of whom have taken us on this 20-year journey.
The flight deck area and the size of the ship provides a real impact on the world stage. It's 65,000 tonnes of British sovereign territory that can deliver a wealth of power to protect the nation's interests around the world.
HMS Queen Elizabeth will be the centrepiece of Defence's joint approach to warfare. The air group of Lightning II jets, which will operate from her 4-acre deck, will be a mix of Royal Navy and Royal Air Force aircraft and pilots. These 5th-generation jets are Premier League. They are not so much a step change as a revolutionary leap in capability.
The ship's company is no bigger than it is on a CVS, but we've got 3 times the real estate. The automation, the remote sensing, the remote viewing, all of these systems now are designed to make this a much more efficient ship for people to operate in. Technology is more advanced than it was in previous years, so we're able to exploit that technology to make this ship much more effective.
The ship does that by lifts, by these automated magazines, by a really clever, highly mechanised weapon handling system for prepping weapons for the aircraft.
The ship and the aircraft have been designed with each other in mind from the outset. The automation on the ship will absolutely improve the orchestration required in order to launch and recover these aircraft. And whether it's taking off using the enormous power of that engine and afterburner, or even a short takeoff, which is amazing to watch, it's a fantastic capability. With the convergence of technologies in F-35, the range of sensors, the weaponry, the inbuilt stealth technology, and the ability to be able to downlink real-time information to a Queen Elizabeth class carrier or to land-based facilities puts UK defence at the leading edge of technology into the future.
It's probably one of the biggest systems integration tasks that the UK have ever seen. Not only is it interconnecting the ship, but the systems then interconnect with a vast degree of systems off board, from satellites to surveillance aircraft and back to joint command centres back in the UK.
As well as military flexibility, HMS Queen Elizabeth and her embarked forces provide political and diplomatic choice. In disaster relief operations, she can be placed close in to offer help in rebuilding shattered lives. In times of crisis and tension, she can offer a visible, coercive presence or position out of sight, a flexible means of escalating or de-escalating as the national or international will dictates.
These carriers are not just fast jet aircraft carriers. They have the ability to carry large numbers of helicopters, including the Royal Air Force's Chinook. And with those aircraft alongside the Army's Apache, we will have the ability to mount raids far into enemy territory anywhere in the world.
The Army Air Corps are very much excited about operating from the new carriers, both in terms of our Lynx Wildcat and also the helicopter I fly, which is the Apache. These carriers will allow us to strike with the Apache further inland with bigger munitions load, greater fuel, bigger reach, and thus we can protect the nation's interests far better.
HMS Queen Elizabeth is also serving as a turbocharger for deeper international partnership. Already, Royal Navy and Royal Air Force personnel are being trained in carrier skills in the United States, and our personnel are also serving within the French Carrier Strike Group. It's laying strong foundations with our key strategic partners as we look to share responsibilities in the years which lie ahead.
I think there's an absolute paradigm shift in what defence is able to do with this ship. We've seen what we can do with our current ships, a ship 3 times the size, with the firepower that we can deploy and the humanitarian support we can offer. It's a legacy for the Royal Navy.
She'll have new radars throughout her life, new computer systems. So all of that stuff that makes a ship work will change over time. And of course, if I just project forward to the outer service date, which will be in close to 50 years' time, and just think that the last CO of this ship hasn't been born yet, it really does show you that it is a once-in-a-generation decision.
In this new century, HMS Queen Elizabeth heralds a new era of inter-service and international partnership. And in offering genuine strategic choice in support of our nation's interests around the world, she will be the jewel in the crown of UK defence.
Arriving shortly are helicopter formations representing today's current types. The Royal Navy's Lynx, Merlin, Sea King and Wildcat, operating from our ships at sea. The following 3 represent amphibious operations. A Navy Sea King helicopter accompanied by a RAF, Merlin and Chinook demonstrate the joint capability which enables our ships to support our troops ashore. The fixed-wing aircraft are represented by 3 Royal Navy Hawks, used for burst training pilots and exercising our ships in airborne defence.
to give 3 cheers for Her Majesty the Queen. Divisions of caps. Up. 3 cheers for Her Majesty the Queen. Hip hip. Hip hip. Hip hip. Divisions on caps. Parade. Stand at ease. Parade. Stand easy. Parade! Parade! Ho! Queen Elizabeth's naming ceremony is now complete. Request permission to march off the Queen's colour, the Guard of Honour and the band. Aye, aye, sir. March off! The Queen's colour, Guard of Honour and band!